Hi guys, this is not a video I ever thought I'll make. For years I've stood by the Tor browser, recommended it, praised it and defended it. I've always called it a lifeline for anyone needing to cloak their digital footprints from prying eyes. But today I need to tell you something that's a bit hard to say. Tor is no longer what it used to be, and pretending otherwise is doing more harm than good. The truth is, I still believe in what Tor stands for: freedom, anonymity, resistance. But the reality of what Tor delivers in 2025 is much more dangerous than people realize. And look, this isn't just coming from someone who read a blog post or watched some documentary. I've lived in the privacy space. I've used Tor for years. I've seen its evolution, its wins and its failures. And now, if I'm right, it's quiet decline. Now, I know this is going to upset a few people, but if I claim to care about privacy and I stay silent, then I'm part of the problem. So let's talk about the Tor browser and explore how in some ways it might be putting you at more risk than you think. One of Tor's biggest selling points is security levels. It's one of the first simple tweaks you learn about when you start using Tor: the standard, safer, and safest security levels. Here is the promise: the higher the security level, the more protected you get. So if you're in a risky environment, you just crank it up to safest and JavaScript gets disabled, media can't autoplay, and you're shielded from harmful scripts. That's the theory, but I've found out that the reality is dangerously misleading. Here is exactly what I mean. Let's say I launch Tor with the default, which is the standard setting. I visit a site like browserleaks.com and run a JavaScript test. Sure enough, JavaScript is enabled as expected. Now what I'll do is this: I'll go back and I'll click the shield icon, go into settings and flip it to safest. Now, as you can see, at this level, JavaScript should be disabled by default across all sites. At least that's what the browser claims. So with this done, let's go back to browser leaks and rerun the JavaScript tests. This is where I got a shocker. JavaScript is still enabled, it's still running, and it's still exposing me, even though I'm on the safest possible setting. So what just happened? The so-called safest setting did absolutely nothing. And here is what's worse: this isn't a glitch. It's not new. Tor has known about this problem for over a year. There's even an open issue publicly listed sitting on their GitLab, and it's been left untouched. There's been no fix, there's been no real acknowledgement. Meanwhile, users like you and me keep browsing with a false sense of security, trusting a switch that doesn't even work unless you restart the browser. And this is something they have conveniently left out, so let that sink in. Tor is actively advertising a critical privacy feature that it knows doesn't work as expected. This is a betrayal. If something this basic is broken, and has been broken for as long as this has been, what else is quietly failing under the hood? Now, I must confess, this has led me to start growing real doubts about Tor. As someone who is deeply invested in digital privacy, I understand how easy it is to fall into a rabbit hole. There is a very fine line between being privacy conscious and becoming paranoid. At least I've heard this more times than I can count. But at this point, I don't think questioning Tor's trustworthiness is paranoia anymore. It's starting to feel uncomfortably familiar, just like the delusionment many of us experience with Firefox. You start with something open source and mission driven, and over time, the cracks begin to show. To be clear, I haven't completely given up on Tor. It still has its uses, and frankly, there is no one real one-to-one replacement out there right now. Or at least if you know of any, please let me know in the comment section. I would love to try them out. But then the more I look into it, the more I can't shake the feeling that some of these issues, like the broken security levels, are not just an oversight. They feel systemic, maybe even intentional. And more often than you think, when trust starts to erode, there is often a money trail not far behind. So here's a question worth asking. Who exactly funds the Tor project? In 2021, their own transparency report listed the US State Department as one of their top funders. Over 53% of Tor's revenue that year came from the US government sources. So here's how it works in my mind. If the same institutions we are trying to protect ourselves from are also funding the very tool we rely on for privacy and anonymity, doesn't that at least warrant some scrutiny? Now, see, I'm not here to throw accusations. I'm here because I've trusted Tor and it's getting harder to justify that trust without hard questions. I honestly want to be wrong. I hope this is just a misstep and not a total shift in direction. But let's talk about this. Do you think this is just an error? Are you beginning to think Tor is straying from what it initially stood for? And also, if we have this kind of false advertising with the Tor browser, how much are you supposed to trust Tails that routes everything through Tor? Also, I might be late to the party, so I want to know if others who are beginning to figure this out have already shifted from Tor to something else. Please drop your thoughts in the comments. I genuinely want to hear what the privacy community is thinking. Until the next time, stay sharp, stay skeptical, and most of all, stay safe out there.